Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Sunday, the 26th day of November, the 8th day of Kislev. Sorry, I'm not in my usual backdrop studio, but the halachas must go on, of course, as always. We are less than 3 weeks away from Chanukah, and I think I'm going to start telling you in advance some laws for Chanukah that we'll need to know. First of all, the backdrop. You know, way back at the time that the first Hanukkah story ever happened, the Syrian Greeks had oppressed the Jewish people, specifically at the area of the Beis Hamikdash, and they had totally desecrated the Beis Hamikdash. And the Hashmonaim were a small army that were able to overpower the great big army of the Syrian Greeks. That's already one of the miracles of Hanukkah. And when they finally overpowered the army totally, they were able to re-enter the Beis Hamikdash and found it totally desecrated. And they wanted to light the menorah. I guess a lot of you know this, but it bears repeating. They found that there was no pure oil to be used in order to light the menorah. The Beis Hamikdash had been in such desecration, and they searched around and found one small flask of oil that was still sealed with the seal of the Kohen Gadol, and that oil was only enough oil to last for one day. And so they lit that one flask of oil, and miraculously it stayed lit for 8 days. And hence we call it the holiday of Chanukah. Now the word Chanukah stands for Chanukah. They rested on the 25th day of Kislev, and also it stands for Chanukas, which means the rededication. They were able to rededicate the Beis Hamikdash. Actually, two miracles went on. One miracle was, of course, the fact that a small army was able to overpower a great army, and the other miracle was that the menorah stayed lit for 8 days. You may have heard this from me before. This also bears repeating. It's so important to know. The great miracle, of course, was that a small army was able to overwhelm a very, very big and powerful army. The miracle of Chanukah was, of course, a miracle. There's no way to minimize the fact that one flask of oil for one day stayed lit for 8 days, 8 times longer than regular. But it just seems so small by comparison to the great miracle of the war, and it's just so interesting that we spend so much time stressing that. Interestingly, if you look in the Al Hanisim, mostly just the victory in the battle is talked about, and the actual lighting of the menorah is just written in there as an afterthought, and it barely even mentions the miracle of the menorah. It just says the great miracle of the battle. And yet we make such a big deal out of those menorahs, and this you may not know, and this is very, very important to say, and it is, that of course the great miracle is the battle. But when God in the midst of that battle gives you a wink and a nod, and in his wink and nod says that I so appreciate what you Jewish people did. You didn't have to, go to all great lengths to try to get yourself oil to light the menorah. You were actually allowed to light the menorah in impurity if you needed to, because it's allowed when there's no other oil available. But you went above and beyond just to honor my mitzvah, and God responds with a miracle that's a wink and a nod to us that says, I too I'm going to respond to you above and beyond, and I'm going to make that menorah last. I didn't have to, but you didn't have to do what you did either, and God's beautiful response to the Jewish people is signaled by us year to year as we say, we'll go above and beyond. The real mitzvah of Hanukkah, we just have to light a candle, and that'll remind us of the miracle. But we want to go above and beyond the way God did. So it's a beautiful communique between God and the Jewish people where he says, you went way past what you had to do. I'll go past what I have to do. And we again mirror that back as a thank you and as a broadcasting of this great moment that God communicated with us in that way, and we all light menorahs. So that's our first kickoff thought as we enter the season of Hanukkah, that the reason we spend so much energy and effort into preparing beautiful menorahs and all of that is because we love and cherish that communique from God. And we communicate back by saying we'll go above and beyond and respond in kind to the great God who takes care of us. Thanks for logging on, and log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.